This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. It's a special thing to be a member of Navy Federal because they are a member-owned, not-for-profit credit union that invests in its members with amazing rates and low fees. That's why members could earn and save more every year. Plus, they serve all branches of the armed forces, veterans, and their families. So if you're interested in becoming a member, learn more at NavyFederal.org. At Navy Federal Credit Union, our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Why wait to earn the degree you deserve? You have the experience, you have the knowledge. Now's the time to get the credit for the work you've done and earn the recognition you deserve by starting your comeback at Purdue Global. It's time to earn a degree you'll be proud of, a degree that employers will respect. It's never too late. Never too late to come back stronger and move forward in your career. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. Purdue's online university for working adults.
Episode 170, Your Guide to Simple Solopreneurship with Laura Adams.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And we are really excited. We are coming off of the high of the Future of Frugal Summit. And if there is one little itty bitty bit of something we missed at the summit, I would have to say it would be like starting your own business. And so here it is today.
You can't have it all, you know? That's for next year. We're also coming off the high of having just talked with Laura, and we're recording this pre-roll after the interview and feel it was fantastic. So I'm excited to share it.
Yes. And I hope that you are ready to just take everything you learned this week and just make some of the greatest changes. And if you are, then you're definitely going to want to check out our sponsor for this show, Club BFF. We are so excited about this. If you love Frugal Friends and you found yourself saying, I wish I could have more of this support, encouragement, community, actionable steps for life change. Well, we've heard you talking in your head. And we have designed Club BFF for you. It is our membership community where we will be doing group challenges throughout the year in different areas of our spending. And so our hope is that if you spend 1 year with us and this Club BFF community, is that your spending will be totally transformed, even if you already consider yourself pretty frugal. So we are not opening this full scale until October. But as a perk of the Future Frugal Summit, even if you didn't attend, if you're listening to this live, you can get in through July 25th at half off an annual membership. And you will get that price for life. But you literally only have 3 days to do it. So if this is something you're interested, you can find more info at frugalfriendspodcast.com/BFF. Don't wait. Join us for our first challenge and snag this exclusive founding member discount.
So excited and love the name, Club BFF. It's like everything of my tween years all wrapped up
Best Frugal Friends.
Adulthood now. Also brought to you by Doing It Yourself. It's not just a concept for refurbishing furniture, fixing the toilet, or just washing the dishes. Doing it yourself can also be applied to starting your own business or side hustle. Of course, you can absolutely rope others in to help you, but you can be the boss. Doing it yourself when you want it done right.
Also brought to you by Da Boss.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a rapper's name yet, but one day. So if you are interested in solopreneurship, side businesses, making extra money, you're going to get a lot out of today. But there are a few other episodes you can queue up if you are interested in those things. The first is episode 129, How to Make More Money with a Side Business. We kind of go over these topics, but Laura really dives deeper into them. And then also episode 85, Side Hustles for People Short on Time. If you're looking to make some quick money, then this might be a better one for you. But I think if you're focused on long-term, maybe leaving your job, stuff like that, you're really going to get a lot out of today's episode. And then also, the Bright Future Bundle is still available also through Sunday. And Nika from Debt Free Gonna Be, one of our speakers, has a Mercari selling guide, which is amazing. And then you also get access to all of the day 3 talks, which are all about earning more. So definitely frugallivingsummit.com/AAP. If you have not picked up the Bright Future Bundle, get that. And because it goes away forever on Sunday.
Beautiful. Let's get into Laura's interview and what she has to say about this.
Welcome, Laura, to the Frugal Friends podcast. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be with you.
Oh, this is a good topic, Laura, and you are an expert to be talking on it. I know so many people will be interested. As I was looking through the questions we're going to ask you, I'm like, oh, my brother should listen to this one. We'll see if he does, but
always excited. Sometimes having these episodes to pass off to our own family members.
Yeah,
either for us or it's for family.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Laura, tell us a little bit about your solopreneur journey.
Yes, it is. It's been a long one, and it's been a winding one. I started working for myself really right from the very beginning. I've always been doing something on the side, whether it was working on flipping real estate, doing projects with my husband where we would buy distressed property super cheap and, fix it up on nights and weekends. That's one of the early sort of side hustles that come to mind. Then I started doing other types of online work, writing, freelancing, building a podcast, building a blog, all of that on the side, always keeping my day job. I'm one of those people that never really had the desire to go into self-employment full-time initially. I always just wanted it to be a side project. I wanted the additional revenue. I wanted the variety too. I loved having multiple things to do. I get bored very easily. So having, extra things to work on made a lot of sense for me. And my husband too is the same way. So we worked together in a lot of those projects. And then, eventually we worked up to full-time self-employment. We had our own retail store. We were actually in the floor covering business in Central Florida for many years, and turned around years later and sold that business. And then we, got back into floor covering in different ways. And then I ended up getting my MBA, and that's really where I got into personal finance. That was kind of the fork in the road for me. And I realized that a lot of the folks I was in school with, they were very smart. They were very, very career-oriented, doing very well in their careers. Some of them were even C-level executives. They had multiple master's degrees. They were, just all kinds of qualified, but yet they were failing drastically with their personal finances. And kind of a light bulb went off for me. And I realized you could be super educated, super smart, and still not do well with your personal finances. And that disconnect is what really turned me from kind of the corporate finance world more into personal finances. And I decided I was going to put some of the content that I learned in my MBA into podcast format, into blog format. And what I realized is the feedback that I was getting, the positive feedback, was more about the personal side. People were asking questions about, retirement and investing and dealing with taxes and, just a lot of that personal stuff, much more so than the corporate side. And so that's when I really decided to kind of double down on personal finance content. And that was in, 2007. And so I've been podcasting and blogging, literally every week since then about some personal finance topic.
Amazing, Laura. And isn't it something? I'm with you in that maybe, I guess, myth, believing if you're well educated or you make a lot of money, you must be good with money. That's not always the case. And oftentimes it's not. I think I talked with a financial advisor recently who said that in his line of work and as he talked with others in that field, statistically, he was seeing that lawyers were the worst at managing finances. I'm not really trying to call out lawyers, but I mean, maybe. But to realize, okay, yeah, this tier of people that you think makes a ton of money, it doesn't mean that they're making wise choices with it. So amazing that you've honed in on that to help people, not just if you don't make a lot of money, just anybody interacting with money needs to be taught the tools for it.
That's it, and they were dealing with a lot of debt. They were dealing with just kind of being unorganized and not really knowing how to prioritize their finances. I would see people with a lot of credit card debt trying to pay off their mortgage early, even though the credit card debt was a much higher interest rate. That's just an example of kind of like, they're really not thinking this through. There is a better way to prioritize finances and think about it. And so, yes, I do think there are some very successful professionals that almost feel like because they are an attorney or because they are a doctor, that they're supposed to look like a doctor or they're supposed to drive the lawyer car and live in the doctor house and kind of keeping up with the Joneses. And it ends up really just meaning they are living way beyond their means. And they've never really created a budget, never really thought about, am I providing for the future? Yes, I'm providing right now. I've got all these great toys and things to show for it right now. But in a lot of cases, the successful people that I was in school with had not even given retirement a thought. They literally didn't even know, what an IRA was. They might be participating at work in a 401k, but maybe not even maxing it out, maybe not even like getting the full match from their employer. So just making a lot of mistakes that I could tell were really going to bite them in the end. And it was just not a good path. And so my idea was, how can I make content that is easy to digest, kind of taking a lot of these really complex topics and trying to boil them down in a way that's actionable, that's quick and easy to understand, that maybe will help people put some plans into motion without getting bogged down into the details. Now, if people want to get into details and they want to get, really fine-tuned with a financial planner, I'm all for that too. But for most people, it's really not about complexity. It's really more about how can I simplify my finances in order to make sure I'm just automatically saving for retirement. I'm automatically putting some money away for an emergency fund, et cetera, paying the credit card automatically. A lot of those things are just easy systems to put into place that can help you have a lot more success.
Love, love, love that.
There's so much in your background, Laura. As I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, you're my spirit animal, working full time, fixing up houses, podcasting, wanting to have your hands in a lot of things. Like,
yep.
Oh boy. But
love it.
It's evident that you didn't start your business that you're in now overnight. There was a journey to get there. It's not just a snap of the fingers. And it sounds like some different decisions along the way, interests may be changing, identifying where your skill set aligns. All that to say, if someone else is listening to this saying, I do want to start a side business or just a business, what would you say is a good starting point for them?
Yeah. So I always encourage people to really just test first, thinking about, is there a customer base? Is your idea, whether it's a product or a service, is it a good idea? In a lot of cases, people love doing certain things. Maybe they love, teaching. They love doing dog walking. They love doing some things. But if they truly got into it full-time as a business, might not love it so much. So in a lot of cases, wanting to turn a hobby into a business, it may not be the best idea. So I always encourage people, try it out. Give it a few months, figure it out and find out, will you still love it? Because if you don't love it as a business, it's probably not going to end up being a successful pursuit for you. So, is it something you love? Number one. Is there an audience or a customer base or a client base that is truly willing to spend the money for the good or the service? And, can you just give it some time on the side? So instead of taking that flying leap from that steady 9-to-5 paycheck, can you try it on the side? And in the book that I recently wrote, Money Smart Solopreneur, I try to give people some tips on ways to juggle both. It's not easy. Yes, it means you might have to work a little bit in the evenings and on weekends. But for a lot of people, that is what you have to do to really get started. Get in there, figure out, how can you make it work? And I tell a story in the book about when I was working for an employer, also starting podcasting and blogging. And it was 2007, 2008. It was, a terrible recession was on the horizon. And my employer was feeling some of those negative effects. And I knew that he was not going to be able to afford me. Pretty soon we were going to be in a situation where I was firing a lot of our staff that I had hired, a year or two earlier. So I knew that I was probably going to need to go at some point. But I had this other side project that I was super excited about. And so I went to the employer and I said, is there a way that we could work something out? Like, let me scale back to 3 days a week. And that way you can pay me less. You can maybe afford to keep me on a little bit longer, but then I would also have time to go do my other projects. And so it was a win-win for me because I really needed more time to scale the podcasting and blogging that I was doing. And he needed to pay me less money. So it was a win-win situation. And so that's just one example. That's not going to apply to everyone, obviously. But can you figure out a way to maybe get away for an hour and a half in the middle of the day for lunch instead of 45 minutes? Take that hour and a half and really focus on your side hustle. I've done that too. Maybe you book a conference room in your office, or you just make sure that you shut everything down. You stop looking at email and you just really focus on your business during that time in the day. That's one idea. Maybe you go to work a little bit earlier if you're commuting to an office, or you just start your day a little bit earlier at home and say, you know what, from this hour to this hour, before I even look at my 9-to-5 work, I'm going to focus on my business. So there may be some ways to juggle your schedule. There may be some ways to negotiate with your employer that will allow you to really test out that business idea and make sure that it is something you want to do. For some people, they may like the idea of keeping both. For other people, they may really want to get out of that 9-to-5 and they may want to scale up the business quickly. So it kind of depends on what your goals are. For me, I was very happy doing both for many, many years. And it worked for me, but it just kind of depends on your season in life and what your business goals are.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way. We hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota has them, with more on the way. But we also know a BEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of cost, range, or concern about finding a charging station when your battery gets low. You start freaking out. Plus, the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero, Toyota's vision for a carbon-neutral future in vehicles and in manufacturing plants too. In the years ahead, the materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids. That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you, a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or a battery EV. So shop, learn more, and get details at toyota.com/beyond0. Toyota, let's go places.
Such good tips.
Yeah, I love that. The first, right off the bat, like when you refer to it as test, like what you want to do, it's such a great mindset shift because sometimes we see something and we want to do it and then it doesn't work and we feel like we've failed at starting a business. Like we're not entrepreneurial or capable of starting a side business because you did it once or twice and they all failed. But when you look at it as like, first I have to test a bunch of different things to see what's going to A, work, and B, what I'm going to enjoy. Some people will find something they're maybe successful at and find they don't enjoy it and keep doing it. And then sometimes leave their job to do it more. So like going through this testing phase is a really important mindset shift to make when you want to start a business. And yeah, I just loved like everything you said with the balancing of work. Like that's kind of something where Jill and I are different. Like I love being a entrepreneur, business owner, like full time. That's my thing. And Jill was just telling me, she's like, I love having my job. I'm very happy doing the podcast and my job simultaneously. So it really is truly a spectrum. You don't have to be on either end to have like your own like thing on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is something that you do also have to think about your goals. As you said, what happens to a lot of people is they leave the 9 to 5 and they realize that building a business is hard work and they're going to end up maybe working a lot more hours. Now, if you love what you do, that may not be a problem. But if your whole reason for starting a business is, I'm going to work less, I'm going to work from the beach, I'm going to, have all this time off, you may actually get more time off with the 9 to 5 job and having that structured vacation, especially if you've been there a while and you've accrued several weeks of vacation per year, that kind of guaranteed break or time off, or maybe you're a teacher and you've got the summers off, like having that may actually achieve your goal if you can think about it in terms of a goal achievement. And we do get bogged down in our jobs and we feel, oh my gosh, there's all this, interpersonal stress and issues going on. If we can step back and really think, does this accomplish my goal? For some people, it's all about, can I save for retirement? Like every week, every month, can I have a reliable income? And that's another really big hurdle when you work for yourself. Your income tends to be variable and in a lot of cases, very variable. And that can really stress out a lot of people if they don't have lots of emergency money to back them up. And that may hold them back from contributing to a retirement account on a regular basis. And then all of a sudden, you look back and it's like, oh my gosh, a year went by and I didn't make any retirement contributions because I just didn't know what my income was going to be. Again, that's kind of taking a step back for some people. So making sure you understand what your goals are and what's important to you, and then building your life and your business around that, I think is the key to success.
It's such a good thing to highlight, Laura, and you probably see me. I've just been nodding the entire time.
I've been laughing
you were
internally.
talking.
Me on the inside, I've been laughing at especially the vacation thing. It's like, yeah, if you want vacations, don't work for yourself.
Because no one choice is ever without consequences. So it is good to count the cost, to say, will this actually achieve what I want it to achieve? How will it do that? Am I willing for some of the downsides of this, right? It's not going to be without some downsides or consequences. And if your business grows the way you want it to grow, that could mean needing to then hire people. And now you're a boss. And do you want that? And bosses rarely get to disconnect even when they are on vacation. So there are a lot of things to consider with that. And it links to this as well, Laura. I'm curious your perspective, if there's anything to be said about support in some of these initial stages. I'm sure a lot of times when we're just starting out, we don't necessarily have the money to pay somebody to support us in the process. But what's to be said about having someone to bounce ideas off of, or to be some of that accountability or checks and balances? What are your thoughts around what support might look like in the beginning?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I do think that people can tap into other folks, whether it's a mentor, what comes to mind is maybe somebody that's wanting to get into, let's say, real estate sales. You could be an assistant to a very successful agent and kind of learn the business, maybe work for a relatively low wage or some kind of profit sharing with them in order to get some confidence, learn the business, get their support. And it really will depend on the type of work that you want to do. But in a lot of cases, people probably tend, and I think this is especially true for entrepreneur types, we tend to be very independent. We want to just do it ourselves and figure it all out. But if you step back and think about what are the resources, what are the people, who are the people that I know that maybe doing something similar, maybe they're not competitors, but maybe they're doing, something similar. How can I tap into them for who's the accountant they use? What kind of advice did they get when they started their business? What mistakes would they recommend I avoid? It's really easy to just tap into people for virtual coffees and, picking people's brains. And if you can maybe help them a little bit, if they've got something that they need that you can help provide, they may be more willing to kind of collaborate with you. So I do think that's a very underutilized resource, is just reaching out to people and asking questions. In a lot of cases, people are more willing to help you and give advice than you think they're going to be. And so I would recommend folks have a little bit of, confidence and just be willing to kind of put yourself out there and ask for help.
Oh yeah, people love talking about themselves. So if you ask them about themselves and their business, you're golden.
Especially if you have something to bring to the table, like inventory your skills and see what you can bring. Because people will ask to pick my brain and be like, but you're not even offer to buy me a coffee or anything. Some people do, but then when they're like, hey, I have experience in this and I would love to hear your experience with this. And I'm like, absolutely. Even if I had just one question you can answer, it's been completely worth my time, and I would love to help anybody out. So definitely find a mentor or something, because your network really is your net worth. I know that's overused, but
it's so
really,
true.
Really true. Yeah. So many people are nervous about starting a side business. And we talked about this briefly before we hit record, because they're scared of, the organizational pieces, the incorporating, the taxes, all that stuff. So what is important when you're getting started, and what's not as important, the stuff that can maybe wait?
This is probably one of the most common questions that I get about starting a business. It's what do I need to do? Because there are a lot of people who are very hesitant to do anything with their business until they've got kind of all of the pieces put together. And they are very scared about starting their work until they understand everything. Then you've got other people who are just boom, I'm going to start, I'm going to get out there, and they don't think about anything. So it's funny. It's there are two main types of entrepreneurs. And so the folks who are afraid of starting, they are typically wondering, do I need a business bank account? Do I need to incorporate? Do I need some kind of license? What are the logistics and the administrative piece of it? And what I tell folks is, in general, until you've made some money, you really don't need to do much. And I would say the only exception here is if you're getting into a business that has some liability. Maybe you're going to, let's say, be a caterer where serving food could, make somebody sick and they could sue you about something. If there's any liability that you could face, you may want to incorporate early on. But for the majority of folks who are starting some type of a service-based business, they really don't need to do much until they earn about $10,000. That's kind of my break point where I say, okay, you've earned $10,000. This is the point at which you're going to need to really look at, do I want a business bank account? And in most cases, the answer is yes, because it's super easy to get, and in most cases free, and an easy way to separate your personal and your business expenses. Do I need to incorporate, most people are pretty good as sole proprietors. Again, if you do want to limit your liability, you could become a single member LLC. That's what I am. That basically means that I have a corporate structure, but I pay taxes as a sole proprietor. So I pull the income out of my business, and it gets reported on my personal tax return. Super easy. And that's, just one option. In the book, Money Smart Solopreneur, I kind of go through all of the different business entities that are common and show you what are the pros, what are the cons. And, that's pretty easy to do once you've hit that $10,000 in revenue mark. And also maybe looking at, do I need an accountant? Do I need somebody to help me figure out business deductions? Do I need somebody to help me stay organized? If you're not somebody that likes record keeping, you definitely may want to get a little help with this, at least in the beginning. A bookkeeper can set you up, can just make sure you've got a system in place that's going to be easy to maintain going forward. You just don't want to miss any of those deductible business expenses because they're very valuable. And if you're not tracking them, you're not kind of allocating what is personal, what is business, you're not categorizing, you're going to miss them. There's no way around it. Mm-hmm. That's going to cost you money. So all of these things, the bookkeeping, the legal, thinking about your corporate structure, all of that is really going to set you up for, just a good system going forward. And as far as licensing, in most cases, you're not going to need a business license unless you're doing something, let's say, with alcohol or construction or something that is really regulated at the state or local level. And that's really easy to figure out. You can go to your state website and it will tell you what types of licenses you may need based on the work you're going to do. And goods, you may need to collect sales tax if you're selling goods, and you need to collect sales tax. So that's another area of concern if you're selling goods.
I mean, theoretically, if you're testing until you hit 10,000, then your business can pay for all of these expenses. So you don't have to worry about not being able to afford to start a business. You can really, in this day and age, bootstrap it, make the money from your business and have it pay for itself. Don't incorporate and get these tax ID numbers and all of that. Don't waste your time with it if it's not something you want to do for at least several years moving forward. That's why I think the testing phase is so important, because you don't want to do all this work just to decide you don't want it. And then you have sunk cost and you keep at it for much longer than you should because you sunk all this money into it.
Exactly. That is the point for sure. And I do think that if you hit that 10,000 mark quickly, fantastic. As you said, then you can afford to reinvest the money back in. Now, let's say you work for a whole year and you've made the 10,000. You may say, well, if that's not going to be enough for me going forward, you can reevaluate. Or if you're at the point where you're ready to scale, you can reevaluate. And in some cases, even the mixing of the personal in the business, if you're an organized person, may not be a problem. And I actually did this for many years when I first started. I was putting personal and business expenses in the same bank account, but I was very meticulous about categorizing them. So I could easily at the end of the year run a report that showed, here are all my business expenses, here's my business income, give that to my accountant, and they could easily tell, what needed to be reported. So if you are really good and you're using a good bookkeeping system, then, that's probably not going to be an issue. There's no law that says you have to have a business bank account, but I can tell you from experience that it definitely will help you truly think about your business in a new way and really separating those financials. there's a lot of benefit there, particularly maybe you're thinking about selling the business down the road. That may be an area where, if that's something that even comes to mind for you at all, you definitely want to be separating all those financials so you can show somebody what you're earning, what your expenses are, and be very clear about that. But for most folks just starting out and testing an idea, I think just starting slowly, as you said, Jen, not really getting overwhelmed with the administrative part of it is the key to having the confidence to just get out there, try to get that first customer or client, serving them. When you get started, what you'll find is you may pivot. You may say, well, I thought I was going to offer this product, but really they need me to do this thing over here. And so that will help you refine your offer and make sure that you are serving the clientele that you think you want to serve, or maybe you need to switch it up and figure out, I've got the skills to do this other thing. Let me, now pivot and focus on that.
For the person who wants to utilize this little startup business and has the goal of eventually leaving their job because they've earned what's possible for that to happen, what should they be doing in order to prepare for that exit strategy? What are some of those steps they would take?
Yes, so definitely the emergency savings is key. We might be at the point where we're ready to leave the job and go full time. But that doesn't mean that the business is going to run smoothly from here on out, right? And in many cases, the income is variable. It's going to fluctuate wildly from month to month. So you want to be sure that you can get through the lean times. And so for most of us, what that means is just having that emergency fund. And it could be a personal savings, it could be business savings that you're accumulating, and having enough to at least get you through a couple months that could be bad, really lean months. Do you have enough to get through and still make sure that you can invest for retirement and hit the financial goals that you want for you and your family? So that really means starting now, building that emergency fund now. So let's say if your goal was to have 3 months of emergency, maybe you want to go to 6, or maybe even you're just starting out and you don't even have 1 month of saving yet. You might want to make a goal to get that 1 month done and then rapidly begin to raise that savings rate over time. So think about in the kind of the worst case scenario. Would you be okay? Would your family be okay? Insurance, this is another area a lot of self-employed people struggle with, especially leaving the full-time job, is what do I do about health insurance? What do I do about life insurance, disability, all these things, these perks that we have with the 9-to-5 job. A lot of self-employed people don't know that they can go to healthcare.gov, go to the marketplace and shop for plans. And if your income is below a threshold, you qualify for premium subsidies, which make it cost less. Now, is it cheap? No, insurance is still expensive, unfortunately, even with premium subsidies in a lot of cases. But you can definitely get a lot of help there. Especially if you're starting out and your income is not that high yet, you're going to qualify for some additional help there that will reduce your premiums, making it affordable for you and your family. So don't assume that just because I'm going to be self-employed that I can't have health insurance and I can't have life insurance. You can shop life insurance. Term life is super affordable. I call it your self-employed benefits package. You have to create that for yourself. So with the health, the life, even disability coverage, really thinking through what are you giving up when you leave the job, and then how can you replace that on your own?
I mean, once you start to think about leaving, the health insurance, I think, is the biggest hurdle to get over. Personally, we use like healthcare sharing because that was even cheaper than the marketplace. But like we're, lucky enough to be very healthy, and we have our son still on regular insurance, but like it can work. A ton of people make it work. So if there is a business that you have and you do, like I also see this other end of the spectrum where there are people that are holding on to their job by a thread for these benefits when really they could be taking their business like so much further if they just like let go of that thread.
Yeah. And don't forget about COBRA too. If you leave a job that has group coverage, you do qualify for COBRA for typically 18 months. It's not going to be cheap, but it is going to give you that full coverage that you're used to, the exact same coverage. So maybe you're in a situation where, you're thinking about starting a family, or, you really need some good coverage. You can at least maintain that and know that, it's there for you. I would say shop it. Always shop the COBRA against all of the other options, because you probably can find a cheaper option, but just know you've got multiple options. Maybe if you're married, you might get on a spouse's plan. If you're young, if you're under age 26, you could get on mom and dad's plan if they're willing to keep you there for a little while. There are options. Short-term policies are typically cheaper. They don't have as many kind of built-in benefits for you, but they are there to kind of bridge the gap between, let's say, coverage at work to the point where you're ready to get your own plan. So there are options out there, and I just would encourage people to do a little homework. Don't go without insurance. It's not worth it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Speaking of options and things that are worth it.
And you shouldn't go without.
The bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
All right, Laura. We invite every week either a listener or our guest to share with us their bill of the week. And so we would love to know, do you have a bill for us?
A bill for you. I would I would love to bill you for your expertise, and maybe I would ask you to give me some advice on, what are your biggest tips for starting a business or even starting a podcast if somebody out there is interested. I want to bill you for that.
Oh my gosh, that's a first.
This is a first. You went a very unique direction, Laura.
I respect it.
I'm a little obsessed. Yes.
I respect it. So I would say our podcast started in such a unique way that neither of us intended it for it to be a business, and now it has grown into my main business. And so I would say there definitely has to be some room for setting barriers up so you can be consistent with whatever you're doing, like not just podcasting, but I think having our shows edited for us and just being very light on other things where people maybe were going heavier on, it made it possible for the thing to be sustainable for us while we both had full-time jobs and before it could be a full-time thing for at least one of us. So it may cut down on some profit at first, but when you're still around while the other guy has burned out, then you will be thankful.
Love that. Yeah, consistency is the key. And I do think, for me, being part of a podcasting network put a lot of pressure on me because it was like, all right, there's a deadline here. There are people who are counting on your content, and that accountability. So I love what you said, Jen, because if you don't have that external accountability, if that accountability has to come from you internally, you've got to deliver, and really be tough on yourself and make sure that you're creating consistent content. Because, I think that is one of the biggest ways to have success especially with podcasting. Your sponsors will rely on that, right? They want to see that you've got a particular schedule, that you're keeping up with it. So I love that. Yeah, consistency is definitely, and that's so true with a lot of things in life, right? Investing, producing. I mean,
Yes.
just so many aspects. I mean, even just exercising, having a schedule to stay healthy, and all of that comes down to consistency.
Yeah, for those of us who are not backed by large venture capital firms, we have to go small and steady. That's a key.
Love it.
Yeah, and I would say self-knowledge is a big component, especially if you're going to be entrepreneurial in your pursuits. Knowing what your strengths are, where your growth edges are, what happens to you when you feel stressed, the type of support that you need, what you really want to focus in on, and where you want to have others kind of do some of the mundane tasks. Some of that comes in time as you work towards starting your own business, but having a pulse on that and doing a really decent introspective dive even before starting this to know where are the potential pitfalls and how am I going to factor that in and care for myself and my business and others well as a result of that.
Yeah, that's terrific. You can't lose yourself. You have to continue building a life as you build a business. And if you sacrifice, the family and friends and the relationships, you'll look back and say, was it worth it? And it's tough. Building a business is tough. You do have to make sacrifices. But I think trying to be as balanced as possible along the way, it was what you ultimately want as an entrepreneur, right? Nobody wants to look back and say, oh, all I did was work on my business nonstop. Even if you love it, even if you love it, you still have got to remember the rest of your life and being healthy with relationships and, eating good food and moving your body, sleeping well. All of those are just foundational to happiness.
Yeah, and knowing that it's okay to not be good at all of the things. Jen and I just had a business meeting last night, and I'm like, I don't like realizing that I'm not good at things. It's not a comfortable feeling for me. And I'll learn and I'll problem solve and I'll do the thing proficiently, but also giving grace to say, it's not something I'm good at. And to own a business doesn't mean I have to tight fist do everything and be good at all of it.
That's so true.
That's a little soapbox.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. So,
Laura, thank you for billing us. Love it. I love that. If you have a bill of the week that you want to share with us, whether it's a bill you want to give to us or anything related to bill, you know the drill. frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. We'd love to hear it.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way.
Yeah, we hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota, they got them with more on the way, I'm telling you.
We also know a BEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of cost, range, or if you're like Ray and you're going to start freaking out, oh no, I can't find a charging station when that battery gets real low.
Yeah, plus the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero. So Toyota's vision for a carbon neutral future in vehicles and in manufacturing plants too. In the years ahead, trust me, it's happening, baby. The materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids.
That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you, a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or battery EV.
So shop, learn more, or get details at toyota.com/beyond zero. Toyota, let's go places.
Vroom, vroom.
We get our weekly groceries delivered through Instacart because once football season starts, game time is family time. I can get everything my family needs for the week, from reliable staples to specialty ingredients, all delivered right to my door in as fast as 1 hour. So I can stay on my game without missing a minute of the game. Visit Instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
And now time for
The lightning
round. So, this is the part of the show where we're going to bill you for your expertise now. But we are all going to go around and share, knowing the mistakes you would make, what's a word of advice you'd give yourself personally when you were just starting out?
Oh, man. It would definitely be worry less. It would definitely be trust in the process and trust experts too. Just Jill, just to what you were saying, don't think you have to do it all, that there are experts out there. That's the reason they're experts. They are focused on certain tasks, and, give more up to them and don't worry about doing it all yourself.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Worry less. We don't gain anything by worrying. I mean,
nope.
There's no real action that comes out of that.
You lose some sleep, and sleep is sacred.
Yes. What about you, Jen?
So mine would be to focus on your one thing, not somebody else's. And I feel like I've been quoting this line nonstop, but I love The One Thing by Gary Keller. And I tell people in your spending, find your one thing or your two things or something that you can focus on. What's the thing that you can do that makes everything else in saving or earning money easier or unnecessary? But I wasn't necessarily I wasn't looking for what my one thing would be. I would look at what other people's things are and try to replicate those, while not being true to what I actually wanted to do and didn't want to do, or what would work for my audience because they're different from somebody else's audience. And so I would say, keep your focus on your one thing, and then don't get distracted by shiny object syndrome.
Love it.
But it's shiny.
Shiny.
Mine is similar to something we've talked about already, and maybe just another facet to it, but finding ways to try it out before investing big. And I know we talked about investing kind of with your time, but I would also add investing with your money. And I think that there's so much advice out there to say, oh yeah, you got to sink at least 5 to 10 grand into your business at the start to really make sure it's set up on the right foot. And it hasn't been my experience. It's not the advice that I would give to other people. I think there are ways to try to do what it is that you want to do in the future or for your side business that does not cost a lot of money up front, to try it out before you invest big, whether it's financially, emotionally, with your time, and build up to that. I think it's very possible. You don't have to buy all of the things because you may find out that you don't like it or you don't like that version of it. So don't spend a ton of money at first.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, Laura, it has been so fun talking with you and hearing all of your expert advice on this. We hope it's been helpful to our listeners. We know it. We know it's helpful to us. So where can people get more from you? We know this is just the tip of the iceberg. So what else do you have for folks if they want to hear more?
Oh, yes, definitely visit lauradadams.com. That's my site. I podcast weekly on the Money Girl podcast, and would just, love to connect with any of your listeners. I've been really honored to be on your show today. You guys are really fun. This has been a great conversation, so I appreciate you bringing me in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Laura.
It was such an honor to have her here because she really is. I mean, she may have asked us about podcasting, but she is a podcasting stalwart. She has been in this industry for a really long time and is someone that should be looked up to by all podcasters, especially female podcasters, and especially female finance podcasters. Yes. So it was just a pleasure to have her. And she is a fountain of wisdom that I just drank from.
She does speak so expertly and eloquently. And even though we have started our own business together, you and I, Jen, and Eric and I have started our own businesses, there's still so much more, even in that, 50-minute interview that I gained from it. So, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Can't recommend her enough. Definitely visit and get more from her at her podcast.
Yeah, and absolutely. Money Smart Solopreneur is her book where she goes through everything we talked about and it really expounds on it. I was telling her, I was like, I think actually I need to read this book because there's a lot of things. I was one of those people that dove in and just started like my business and built the plane while flying it. So there are still things I'm learning that I need to put into place, and to have it all in one book is really nice to start out. It can like ease some of your fears and empower you. So definitely check out her book.
I will say it's a good thing your husband is an airplane mechanic. It is probably helpful for building the plane while you fly it. If anyone can do it, it would be you and Travis.
He recommends to not do that, but I don't listen. I just keep flying. So
the regulations say the plane needs to be on the ground.
Yeah, well, thank you for riding this airplane while it's still being built. And thank you for your kind reviews along the way on iTunes and Stitcher. Like this one from Pre-Med Diva, just happens to be 5 stars, titled Bird Box. And I'm not sure of the relevance, but it was a great review. I was terrified to open my eyes to finances in general. I'm so thankful to you gals for opening my eyes and showing me it doesn't have to be so scary. Prior to you guys, I was blundering around blind to my mistakes and places to make gains. The episode on student debt actually relieved me of shame I had about my own debt. Thank you. And that is the goal. Yep. That's the goal.
Yep. If we can eliminate shame, bring about freedom, help make this topic attainable, we have done it. And I'm so glad Pre-Med Diva.
We going to keep doing it. We going to keep doing it.
We're here for you.
All of the Pre-Med Divas who have debt. And we're going to show you ways to pay it off and separate you from it.
Mm-hmm. And then
physically
keep
and
going
mentally.
From there. We also want to thank our friends who share these episodes on social media. So when you share the latest episode and tag us on Facebook or Instagram, we're giving you we're adding you to our monthly drawing. That's what it is. And for every 5 tags and reviews we get each month, we give away a copy of the Frugal Friends workbook, which is even more content to help you in your finances.
Yes. And this month you're going to have the choice between Frugal Friends workbook or the All Access Pass that goes away. And yeah, you'll get access to it essentially after it goes away. If you already bought one, we'll give you a refund, whatever. Or you can have both, a workbook and an All Access Pass. Oof. We're really doing it for you this month because it's July, it's adult summer camp, and
why not?
That's how we're living. So keep leaving us reviews on iTunes or Stitcher and sending the screenshot to frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to share on social media and tag us at Frugal Friends Podcast.
See you next week.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Siriani. Jill, whirlwind week. As we're recording this, we have not actually experienced it. Yeah. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. We've not yet been through it, but I'm just going to assume that I'm ecstatic. It's the 23rd and things are looking bright. The future of Frugal is bright.
Yes.
We're about to launch Club BFF. We're on top of the world. We're friends. We're frugal. We live in St. Pete. What else is there? It's July. It's adult summer camp. I love that.
I'm still stoked on Club BFF because I feel like it's super different than most membership groups.
Well,
like we're doing.
Of course it is because we don't do things
because we're weird.
Cookie cutter.
And it's like 6-week challenges, but not challenges where you're going all out. It's almost a challenge in simplifying, a challenge in opting out maybe, where you're just focusing on one thing during the challenge instead of everything. And as we go through checking these boxes off in our spending, by the other side, you are going to be an intentional spender. I hope. That is our goal. and that you can really say like, yeah, maybe I see myself as frugal now, but I really want to be a more refined version of frugal. And I'd like to help those around me be more frugal, and I don't know how to do that. This is how we're hoping to do that, so that you can better it in yourself, more self-discovery, and you can also help friends. You know, you don't just have to say like, oh, you're buying the appetizer and the drink? You can like have informed questions to be like, what do you love most, the appetizer or the drink? What do you love about these things? And teach people how to embark on their own journey of self-discovery empathetically.
And I think that's why you can't get that outside of membership. It is about the community. So much of what we've already done and built. You can do a challenge on your own, but they're no fun unless you've got other people to check in with who are doing the same things, realizing new things about themselves, pushing you in new ways, giving you new ideas and creativity. Like we can go so much further together. And I think this provides just like the greenhouse for growth.
Yeah, it's going to absolutely be a greenhouse. And I mean,
so much fruit, so much goodness, so much sunshine.
And this half off deal will never be seen again. So if you are on the fence, please join us. You have nothing to lose except for bad spending habits.
Ooh. I see what you did there, like twist.
Love
twist.
Land.com can help you find that little patch of ground to call your own and do all the hunting, fishing, and hanging out with the family you want. Just know that getting your own piece of land is something that can generate memories for generations, but also has the ability to generate income in both the near and long term. Like if you just want to start a rental business / family compound. Go to Land.com and check out the hundreds of thousands of rural listings from all across America. Enough dreaming about it. Land.com is a place to find and invest in your open space.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas, and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact getaway you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder, or find a featured all-inclusive package to Paradisus by Malia Hotels. And do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.